I was half asleep when my phone buzzed against my chest. I almost ignored it. It was late, my room was dark, and I had work in the morning. But the buzzing kept coming, sharp, like somebody knocking on a locked door. Tagged in a post. "Who tags me at 1 in the morning?" I muttered. I rubbed my face and opened the app. At first I thought it was spam or an old memory. Then the picture loaded, and every bit of sleep left my body. My dad stood in front of a Christmas tree, smiling in a green sweater. Claire stood beside him, one hand on his arm. Ethan and Lily stood in front of them in matching red pajamas, grinning at the camera. Under the photo, the caption read, "Our perfect little family. So blessed this Christmas." I stared until my screen dimmed. "No," I whispered. "No way." Then I saw my name under the tag list, just there by mistake, like someone had meant to tap another name and hit mine instead. I sat up so fast the blanket fell to the floor. "You've got to be kidding me." I zoomed in on the picture, like that would change anything. It didn't. My father looked happy, relaxed, proud, like the world in that frame was complete, and I wasn't in it. Not physically, not emotionally, not even as an afterthought. I laughed once, but it came out wrong. My God. I clicked the comments. "Beautiful family. You all look amazing. Merry Christmas from one happy home to another." I read each one like it was being pressed into my skin. Then my phone rang. Ava. I answered without thinking. "You up?" "Obviously," my sister said. "You saw it? So you got tagged too?" "No. Claire's cousin sent it around, and I saw your name on it." She paused. "Are you okay?" I looked at the photo again. "Do I sound okay?" "You sound like you're trying too hard." "Yeah, well, that's kind of my thing." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like this is funny." I swallowed. "I'm not acting." "Liar." I leaned back against the wall. "It says perfect little family."
Ava. I know.
They didn't forget me. That's the best part. They tagged me by accident, like I'm some leftover from an older version of his life. "Josh." "No, say it. Say how insane that is." She exhaled. "It's cruel." I shut my eyes. Cruel. The word should have felt dramatic, but it didn't. It felt exact. Ava said, quieter now, "Do you want me to call Mom?" "No. She's going to find out." "Then let her find out tomorrow." "Josh, you shouldn't be alone with this." I gave a laugh. "I've been alone with stuff like this for years." "That doesn't make it normal." I didn't answer. "Say something," she said. "I'm trying not to throw my phone through the wall." "Good. Property damage is expensive." I almost smiled, but it died fast. Ava lowered her voice. "Are you going to call him?" I looked at Dad's face in the picture. I knew that smile. It was the same smile he used when he forgot birthdays and brought excuses instead of apologies. "I don't know," I said. "You should." "And say what? Congratulations on the upgrade." "You could start with, 'Why the hell am I tagged in your fake happy family post?' That's strong. It's honest." I rubbed my chest. It hurt. Ava must have heard me breathing because she said, "Hey." "What?" "This is about him, not you." Easy sentence, nice sentence, completely useless. "Feels personal," I said. "I know." He got dressed up, stood there with them, smiled for the camera, approved that caption, and never once thought, maybe this will wreck my son if he sees it. Ava didn't speak right away. Then she said, "Maybe he did think it. Maybe he just cared more about pretending." That landed harder than I expected. "I think that's worse," I whispered. "It is worse." I looked around my room. Cheap lamp, half-open closet, jacket over the chair. My life suddenly felt small, like I had been living in the corner of somebody else's story. "Josh?" "Yeah?" "You don't have to pretend with me." That was the sentence that broke me. I covered my mouth, but the sound still came out. One cracked breath that gave everything away. Ava stayed quiet for a second, then she said, "I'm here." "I know." You want me to come over? No, just stay on the phone. Okay. I kept staring at the picture. Perfect little family. Finally, I said, "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "I'm not even shocked." Ava went silent, and that silence told me everything I had spent years refusing to say out loud. I didn't sleep after Ava and I hung up. I lay there with my phone on my chest, staring at the dark ceiling, replaying that photo until it felt burned into the back of my eyes. Dad, Claire, Ethan, Lily, the tree, the sweaters, the caption, our perfect little family. The words kept scraping at me. Around 3 in the morning, I unlocked my phone again and opened the post like I wanted to hurt myself one more time. "Still there," I whispered. Nothing had changed. Why would it? I clicked on Dad's profile. Holiday lights, work dinner, Lily holding a school award, Ethan in a soccer uniform, Claire smiling beside him at some fall festival. A whole year of happy moments lined up neat and bright. I was nowhere. I laughed under my breath. Okay, message received. But the truth was, I had gotten the message years ago. I had just been stupid enough to keep translating it into something kinder. I rolled onto my side and remembered my 10th birthday. Dad had called that afternoon. "Buddy, I'm on my way," he had said. "Really?" "Of course. Would I miss your birthday?" I had looked at the window every 5 minutes after that. Mom had lit the candles twice because the first set melted while I waited. At 9:30, the phone rang again. "Josh, I'm sorry," Dad said. "Something came up." I had gripped the cord so hard my hand hurt. "You said you were coming." I know. I feel terrible." "Then come." "I can't tonight." I remembered the silence after that. Not on his end, on mine. Then he had tried the soft voice he always used when he wanted forgiveness without earning it. "I'll make it up to you." I closed my eyes in bed and said, "You never did." The memory shifted. I was 14, standing outside my school gym after an awards ceremony. Everyone else had a parent or two. Mom had come straight from work in her nursing scrubs. Dad had texted 20 minutes before it started. "Running late. Save me a seat." I had saved him one. After it ended, Mom found me still sitting there. "He coming?" she had asked gently. I stared at the empty chair beside me. "Traffic." She looked at the chair, then at me. "Josh." "What?" "He's not coming, is he?" I had shrugged like it was nothing. "Guess not." Mom had stepped closer. "I'm sorry." Back in my room, I pressed the heel of my hand into my eyes. That was the thing about Dad. He never exploded our lives in one loud moment. He let people down so quietly, you almost felt dramatic for bleeding. At 5, I gave up on sleep and went to the kitchen for water. The apartment was silent. Cold tile under my feet. My reflection in the microwave looked older than 23. I leaned on the counter and remembered the first time I met Claire. Dad had picked me up for lunch 2 years after the divorce. "There's someone I want you to meet," he had said. I already knew what that meant. Claire had been waiting at the restaurant patio, smiling like she was interviewing for a role she had already won. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Josh," she said. "You too." She had perfect nails, a soft voice, and eyes that measured rooms fast. Dad sat beside her instead of across from me. Claire asked, "Your mom doing well?" "Yeah, that's good." She smiled again. "Blended families can be hard, but mature people make things easier." I had looked at Dad. "Was that for me?" Dad laughed too quickly. "She just means everybody's trying." Claire tilted her head. "I'm sure we'll all find our place." At the time, I told myself I was being defensive. Now I knew better. She had never been openly cruel. That would have been easier. Claire specialized in smaller things. She forgot to include me in dinner counts, bought 4 tickets and then acted surprised there were 5 people. Framed family photos in hallways where I had never existed. She was polite enough to deny intention and cold enough to leave a mark. Then came Ethan and Lily. I never blamed them. Ethan was 8 when I met him, all knees and questions. "Are you my brother?" he had asked once. I had smiled. Kind of. He frowned. Dad says you live with your mom. I do. He thought about that, then nodded like he was filing me away under something temporary. Lily had been too little to understand anything. She just called me Josh and showed me crayons. They were kids. They lived inside the story the adults built. I was the part edited out. By sunrise, the anger in me felt different. Less wild, less wounded, sharper and colder than before. I opened the photo one last time. Why did you hurt me? I asked the screen. For the first time, I didn't wait for an answer. Instead, I said, what am I going to do with this? I still didn't answer the tag. By morning, the post had been sitting in my head for hours, heavy and ugly, like a bruise I kept pressing just to prove it hurt. I took a screenshot, stared at it, then sent it to Mason. He replied almost instantly. What the hell is this? I typed back, you tell me. A second later, my phone rang. Josh. That was fast. Because I have eyes, Mason said. Did he seriously post that and tag you by accident? Looks like it. Accident, my ass. I leaned against the kitchen counter. That's pretty much what Ava said. Good, she's smart. I looked at the screenshot.
I don't even know why I sent it to you first. Yeah, you do. I let out a breath. Because you won't make excuses for him. Never have, never will. Mason was 10 years older than me and had seen enough of the family mess to stop being shocked by it. He said, You calling your mom? I'm going there now. Good. Don't sit with this alone. I won't. And Josh? Yeah? If you decide to blow his life up, I'll bring matches. I almost laughed. I'll keep that in mind. Mom opened the door before I knocked twice. She took one look at my face and stepped aside. What happened? I held up my phone. You should sit down. We went into the kitchen. I slid the phone across the table. She put on her glasses, read the caption, and went very still. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then she took off the glasses and folded them carefully. Oh, she said. That one word hurt worse than anger would have. Mom. She looked back at the screen. He tagged you? By mistake. Her mouth tightened. Of course. I sat across from her. Say something. She gave a small nod, like she was sorting through shards before touching them. I'm trying. You don't have to protect me from it. I know. She paused. I may be trying to protect myself. That shut me up. Mom pushed the phone away. I'm sorry, Josh. Why are you sorry? Because every few years he finds a new way to remind us who he is. The us sat between us like a third person. I said quietly, You knew he'd get like this. I knew he could. She looked tired. Your father never left all at once. That would have been honest. I remembered the line from last night and gave a bitter smile. He left in pieces. Mom nodded. A cancelled weekend, a missed concert, child support late again, a call he promised to return, a school event he swore he put on his calendar. And then an apology. Yes, she said, always an apology, never a change. I looked down at my hands. Why did you stay calm about him for so long?
She smiled without humor. Because I had 2 children watching me. I didn't want my anger becoming your inheritance. Before I could answer, the front door opened and Ava walked in without knocking. I came as soon as Mom texted, she said. Let me see it again. I handed her the phone. Her whole face changed. I hate him. Mom said softly, Ava. No, I do. I'm tired of pretending I don't. She pointed at the screen. Perfect little family? Are you serious? I said volume. I don't care about volume. Mom folded her hands. Anger is allowed. Just be careful what you build with it. Ava turned to her. What are we supposed to build with silence? We've tried that. Look where it got him. It got us peace, Mom said. No, Ava snapped. It got him comfort. The room went quiet. I rubbed my forehead. Can we not do this like teams? Ava looked at me. Then what do you want to do? I don't know. That's not true, she said. You want to confront him? Mom asked, and after that? I stared at both of them, fire on one side, ash on the other. Ava crossed her arms. Expose him. Send the screenshot to the family group chat. Let everybody see what kind of father he is. Mom shook her head. Public humiliation stains everyone. He earned it. Maybe, Mom said, but you still have to live with the version of yourself that chooses it. Ava turned to me again. Josh, he's counting on you staying quiet. Mom said, and anger is counting on you to become someone else. I looked at the photo, then at the two women who had survived him in such different ways. For the first time, I understood this decision was bigger than one Christmas post. It was about what kind of hurt I wanted to carry next. I waited until evening before I opened the post again. All day, I had tried to avoid it. I answered work emails, ignored Mason, cleaned my apartment for no reason, then gave up and unlocked my phone.
Fine, I muttered. Let's see how bad it is.
I clicked through Claire's profile first. Beneath the Christmas photo were smaller posts from the last week. Wrapped presents, matching pajamas on a bed, Ethan complaining about a sweater while Claire laughed behind the camera. Then I opened the comments. One aunt wrote, "Can't wait to see all the kids together." Claire replied with a smiling emoji and, "It'll be cozy and perfect." I stared at that line. "All the kids," I whispered. No correction, no mention of me. I clicked another relative's page and found a post from 2 days earlier. Claire and Dad stood in a department store, holding ribbon and gift bags. "Ready for family photo day," the caption said. Family photo day. Planned, not random. I kept scrolling and found Claire's comment beneath it. Green for the adults, red for the little ones. It's going to look adorable. Little ones. There it was, the outfits, the caption, the tags. The whole perfect family performance had been planned for days, and I had still tried to believe the tag was the only accident. My phone buzzed in my hand. Dad, not a call, a message. "Sorry about that. It wasn't meant like that." I read it 3 times. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I messed up." Not even, "I'm sorry I hurt you." Just embarrassment. Just cleanup. I laughed. Wow. Then I hit call. He answered on the 4th ring. "Josh." "Don't Josh me." A pause. "I was going to call." "You already did, in 6 lazy words." I said I was sorry. "No, you said, 'Sorry about that. It wasn't meant like that.' Like I spilled coffee on your couch." He exhaled. "You're upset, I get it." "Do you?" "Yes." "No, you don't." His tone changed. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth. The truth is you're overreacting to a social media post." I stopped pacing. "There it is." "Josh." "No, go ahead." "You're an adult," he said. "This doesn't need to become a family crisis." I laughed once. "You posted a Christmas photo and called them your perfect little family. And I'm your son. You are my son. Not in that picture. It was just easier this way." The words hit so hard I sat down. Easier. I repeated it back to him. Easier. "Josh, don't twist my words." "I don't have to. They came twisted." He made an impatient sound. Claire was trying to keep things simple. Simple for who? For the kids. I am one of the kids. You're 23. That landed deep. "So that's the cutoff?" I asked. "Once I'm grown, you can stop pretending I belong." "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." He raised his voice. "You always do this." "Do what?" "You take one thing and turn it into proof of every bad thought you've ever had about me." I gripped the edge of the table. "Because every bad thought I've ever had about you came from something real." "That's unfair." "Is it?" "Yes." "Then tell me I'm wrong. Tell me this is the first time you've pushed me out because it was easier." He didn't answer, so I kept going. "You missed my 10th birthday. That was years ago. You missed my awards ceremony. I had work. You forgot weekends. You called late. You apologized so many times the word meant nothing." "Josh." "No, you don't get to rush past this." His breathing turned sharp. I said, quieter now, Do you know what hurts most? I'm sure you're going to tell me. That you didn't forget me. I could almost forgive forgetting. But this took planning. Claire planned it. The family planned it. And you stood there smiling like cutting me out was normal. It was a photo. It was a choice. You're being dramatic. My hands started shaking. And you are being honest for the first time in your life. Silence. Then he said, cold now, I am not doing this with you when you're like this. When I'm like what? Hurt. When you're trying to blame me for everything. I swallowed hard.
The child in me wanted to say, then fix it, pick me, please. The man in me was tired of begging. I'm not blaming you for everything, I said, just for what's yours. He went quiet again. Then he said, I have another call. We'll talk later. No, I said, we won't. Josh, you made your life easier. I finally understand that. Now I get to make mine clearer. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm done pretending not to see what you are. His voice snapped. Watch your tone. He wanted obedience more than truth. Good night, Dad. Then he hung up. I stared at my phone, breathing hard, my chest aching like something old had finally cracked open. For 1 weak second I wanted it to ring. Part of me wanted him to call back and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, come home. But part of me knew better. The child in me was still standing at the window. The man in me was ready to bury that hope. Dad texted me 2 days after our call. Come for Christmas dinner. Let's move forward. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. No apology, no explanation, just an invitation wrapped like a command. I sent it to Ava and Mom. Ava replied first. Guilt. Mom answered a minute later. Image control. I read both, then typed, probably both. Ava called immediately. You're not actually considering it, are you? I might. Josh. What? He doesn't get to stage manage your pain and call it healing. I know. Then say no. I sat on the edge of my bed. I need to see him. You already saw him. In the photo. On the phone. Same man, different lighting. I rubbed my jaw. Maybe. Not maybe. Mom called after Ava hung up. Her voice was softer. You want to go? I think so. Why? Because some damaged part of me still wanted him to open the door, look ashamed, and finally choose me. I couldn't say that out loud. Instead I said, closure. Mom was quiet for a moment. Closure is a difficult thing to seek from the person who broke it. You think I shouldn't? I think you should know what you're walking into. And what is that? A performance, she said. Maybe guilt is in it, but he will want witnesses. That word stayed with me. Witnesses. Christmas night, I drove there anyway. The house looked exactly like the photo. White lights on the gutters, wreath on the door, warm yellow windows pretending warmth meant love. I sat in the car for a full minute before Ava texted. Last chance to fake food poisoning. I smiled despite myself and typed back, too late. Claire opened the door. Josh, she said, smiling like we were civilized people in a commercial. Come in. Thanks. You made it. There was something careful in her voice, like she was walking across glass in good shoes. Dad stepped into the hallway. Hey, son. Son, that almost made me laugh. Hey, I said. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. Glad you came. I looked at him. Are you? His smile thinned. Let's just have a nice evening. Claire said quickly, dinner's almost ready. The dining room was already full. Claire's sister, her husband, one aunt, and an older woman I barely knew from previous holidays. Ethan looked up from his chair. Josh, he said, you came. Looks that way. Lily waved. Hi. Hi, Lily. Nobody was cruel. That was the strangest part. The cruelty had happened before I walked in. Dinner started with all the usual noises. Plates passing, glasses clinking. Claire asking who wanted more potatoes. Dad laughing too hard at things that weren't funny. He kept trying to act normal. "So, Josh," he said, carving ham, "how's work?" "Fine." "That's good. Busy?" "Sure." He nodded like we were rebuilding something. Claire asked, "Do you still live near downtown?" "Yeah." "That's convenient." "For what?" She blinked. "For work." "Right." Dad shot me a look. I kept eating.
Ethan was the only one who seemed honestly confused. He kept glancing between me and Dad like he had finally noticed the room had weather in it. Then Claire's aunt smiled at me and said, "You're the eldest, right?" I set my fork down. "Yeah." She turned to Claire. "Then why weren't you in the Christmas album?" The room stopped. I actually heard Lily's spoon hit her plate. Claire's face changed first. Not guilt, calculation. Dad answered too fast. "Scheduling issue." I looked at him. Claire added, "It was all very last minute." That was such a stupid lie, I almost admired it. The aunt frowned. "Oh, I only asked because the photographer posted a lovely preview, and I thought maybe I'd missed one with all the children." All the children. There it was again. Dad cleared his throat. "These things get complicated." I said, "Do they?" "Josh," he warned. Claire's sister looked down at her lap. Then Ethan, innocent and doomed, said, "I thought we didn't do one with Josh because Mom said it might make things awkward." Nobody moved. Claire went pale. Dad turned so sharply toward Ethan that his chair scraped the floor. "That's not what was said." Ethan shrank back. "I just meant—" "It's okay," I said. Dad snapped, "No, it isn't." I looked around the table. For once, every face saw it. The dodging, the panic, the lie collapsing under the weight of a child's plain memory. Claire tried again. "Josh, nobody meant to hurt you." I laughed once. "That's the problem. You planned everything so carefully and somehow I was still the easiest part to cut." Dad stood. "Can we not do this at dinner?" I stood too. "When exactly did you want to do it? Before dessert or after the next family photo?" No one stopped me when I reached for my coat. No one said I was wrong. And that, more than anything, made the truth feel final. Dad called 3 times before I got home. I watched his name flash across my phone while I sat in my car, hands cold from gripping the wheel too hard. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. The dinner was still inside me. When the 4th call came, I turned the phone face down. "No," I said to the empty car. "You don't get me right now." The next morning, I left early and walked with no real destination. The city felt stripped down after Christmas, sidewalks wet, storefronts dull, lights still hanging where the holiday had ended. I shoved my hands into my coat and kept moving. Every few blocks my phone buzzed. Dad, Dad, Dad. I let every call die. I replayed the dinner anyway. Claire's careful smile, Dad's stupid lie, Ethan saying awkward like he was repeating weather, the silence after, the faces around the table. That was the part I couldn't stop thinking about. They saw it. For once I hadn't imagined anything. I hadn't overreacted. I hadn't made something bigger than it was. It had been real, and everybody at that table knew it. My phone rang again. Mason. I answered that one. "Well?" he said. "Well, what?" "Did you survive Christmas at the Hallmark house?" I let out a tired breath. "Barely." "What happened?" I told him everything. The aunt, the album, Ethan, the lie collapsing in real time. When I finished, Mason gave a low whistle. "Wow." "Yeah." "So now what?" I looked across the street at a bakery taking down a fake pine display. "I don't know." "You could torch him." I almost smiled. "You always go right to that." "Because in this case I'm right. Post the screenshot. Post his message. Let the family connect the dots." "That would be easy." "Exactly." I kept walking. Mason said, "Josh." "What?" "He humiliated you in public. You don't owe him privacy." That landed because it was true. "I know."
So do it. I stopped at a crosswalk. And then what? Then he deals with it. No, then I deal with it too. Mason was quiet. I crossed with the light and said, I want him embarrassed. I really do. Good. That means you're alive. I laughed once. That's one way to put it. Then stop acting like revenge is dirty. Maybe it isn't, I said. Maybe I just don't want my whole life to become a reaction to him. Mason exhaled. That sounds like your mother. Yeah. Later, Ava met me near the Riverwalk with 2 coffees. She handed me a cup. You look awful. Thanks. You should ruin him. Hello to you too. I'm serious, she said. The family deserves to know. They know more now. Not enough. We sat on a bench facing the water. Cold wind cut through my coat. Ava said, Why are you hesitating? Because if I do it publicly, I'm tied to him again. So? So I'm tired. She looked at me for a long moment. I hate that he made you this tired. I stared at the water. Me too. She softened a little. I just don't want him getting away clean. He won't. How do you know? Because people saw enough, and because I'm done helping him lie. That evening I went to Mom's apartment. She opened the door, studied my face, and said, You've been thinking all day. Is it that obvious? To me? Always. We sat in the kitchen with tea neither of us drank. I said, Mason wants war. Ava wants war. And what do you want? I looked at the steam rising from my cup. I want him to feel what I felt. Mom nodded once. Of course you do. I want him ashamed. That makes sense. I looked up. You're not going to tell me not to feel that? No, she said. Feelings aren't the danger. What you build out of them is. I leaned back. If I stay quiet, it feels weak. Silence can be weak, she said, but silence can also be strength if it is chosen instead of forced. I let that sit. She added, You do not owe him a public rescue, but you also do not owe him a public destruction. So what do I owe? Truth, she said. Clear truth. To yourself first, then to whoever deserves honesty. I looked down at my phone. 3 missed calls from Dad. 1 new message. Can we talk like adults? I almost laughed. Mum saw the screen. What will you do? For a moment, I pictured posting everything. The screenshot, his message, the dinner story. One clean strike. Quick, ugly, satisfying. Then I pictured waking up the next morning still carrying him, still orbiting him, still letting him decide the shape of my life. I put the phone on the table. I'm not going to perform revenge, I said. Mom stayed quiet. I'll answer the people who ask. I'll tell the truth plainly. No protecting him. No public spectacle. And then? I breathed out slowly. Then I step away, I said. Not for him. For me alone. The fallout started quietly. 2 days after Christmas, Claire's aunt called me while I was making coffee. I almost let it ring out, but something in me said to answer. Hello? Josh? It's Marlene. Her voice was careful. Hi. I hope I'm not bothering you. You're not. There was a pause. Then she said, I wanted to apologize. I leaned against the counter. For what? For assuming you had chosen not to come. I thought maybe you were busy or keeping distance. I didn't realize... She trailed off. I didn't realize it was like that. I looked out the window. It's fine. No, she said gently. It isn't. That one sentence loosened something in me. She continued, I shouldn't have asked that question at dinner the way I did. You didn't do anything wrong. I think I did everyone a favor by accident. I let out a short laugh. Yeah, maybe. Her voice dropped lower. You deserved better. After we hung up, I stood there with the coffee going cold in my hand. Later, Ava texted me a screenshot. It's gone. I opened the app. Claire's Christmas post had disappeared. No perfect little family. No matching sweaters. No smiling proof that cutting me out had been worth it. I stared at the blank space where it had been and said out loud,
Good. Then Dad's message came in.
I never wanted any of this to happen. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I read it twice, then laughed so hard I had to sit down. A minute later, another message arrived. Claire is upset. The kids are confused. This situation has gotten out of control. I typed back, "You mean the truth did?" He answered instantly, "You are twisting things." I locked the phone and tossed it onto the couch. By evening, Mason called. "So," he said, "the masterpiece got deleted." Word travels fast. Ava sent me the screenshot like it was breaking news. It kind of was. He made a satisfied sound. That's one crack. There are more. Oh? I read Dad's messages to him. Mason snorted. Classic. First self-pity, then blame, then vague regret. Exactly. He's panicking. Good. Mason was quiet. How do you feel? I thought about it. Less crazy. That's a solid start. Over the next few days, more little fractures appeared. One cousin messaged me asking, "Was that dinner as weird as it looked?" I wrote back, "Worse." Another relative called and said, "I didn't know you weren't included." I answered, "Now you do." No one argued with me. No one rushed in to defend Dad with the usual lines. He means well. He's trying. Families are complicated. Maybe they had run out of ways to polish what he was. Dad kept texting. "I made mistakes, but you're not innocent here." Then, "You've always been distant, Josh. Claire says she never knew how to talk to you." Then, "I wish we could fix this." Each message bent in a different direction, but all of them circled the same center. He still wanted the story to protect him. I stopped answering completely. One night, Ava called and said, "Mom heard from Aunt Denise." "What now?" "Apparently Claire's been icy for days." I sat up straighter. "Seriously?" "According to Denise, your dad keeps saying the dinner was misunderstood, and Claire keeps asking why Ethan knew enough to say that." I let out a breath. Wow. "Yeah," Ava said, "that house is not glowing anymore." I pictured it then. The lights still up outside, the wreath still on the door. Inside, silence sharp as broken glass. For years, Dad had built his second life like a display window, cheerful, stable, admired from the outside. Now people were finally looking past the reflection, and what they saw was ordinary and ugly. A man who had loved one version of fatherhood because it was easier. A man who had treated me like a complication. That was the downfall. Not scandal, not public ruin, just the steady collapse of admiration. On New Year's Eve, I went to Mom's apartment with a grocery bag in one hand and a pie Mason had insisted on bringing in the other. Ava opened the door. "You're late." "I'm 30 seconds late." "That counts." Mason called from the kitchen. "Tell him I saved the good soda." Mom looked up from the stove and smiled. "You made it." The apartment was small. The table didn't match the chairs. The pie crust was cracked. Someone had put the cheap paper hats out too early. It was perfect. Ava handed me a plate. "See? Real family photo right here. No sweaters required." Mason raised his glass. "No fake captions either." Mom laughed softly. "Be nice." "I am being nice," he said. "This is me at my best." We ate too much, argued over music, and watched the clock creep toward midnight. No one pretended we were flawless. We were loud, bruised, uneven, real. Ava leaned her head against my shoulder and said, "You okay?" I looked around the room. Mom smiling, Mason talking with his hands. The window fogged inside. "Yeah," I said, and for once, I meant it. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. Dad. I turned it face down on the table. Then I lifted my glass with the people who had never needed a staged picture to prove they loved me. Maybe I would never get the father I had waited for. But sitting there, in that imperfect room, I finally saw something better. I could still build a life that didn't ask to be chosen. I could build one that was already mine. Dad's message came the morning after New Year's. "Can we meet? Just us." I read it in my kitchen, the apartment still quiet from the night before. I stared at the words. A week ago, I would have read hope into them. Now I read fatigue. I didn't answer right away. I made coffee. Then I typed, "Where?" He sent back the name of a diner between my place and his. Neutral ground. I almost laughed. We met that afternoon. He was already there, sitting in a booth by the window with coffee in front of him. He looked older than he had at Christmas. He stood when he saw me. "Hey!" "Hey!" I sat across from him. A waitress came by, asked if I wanted anything, and I ordered tea. Dad looked at me. "Thanks for coming." "I didn't come for repair." His face tightened. "Fair enough." That surprised me. I leaned back. "So, talk." He rubbed his thumb against the cup. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this without making it worse. You should try honesty. It's new for us." He gave a tired nod. "I deserve that." Again I said nothing. He looked down, then up at me. "I handled this badly." "Yes. I know that sounds small." "It does. I'm not asking you to pretend otherwise." The waitress brought my tea. I waited until she left. Dad exhaled. "When I married Claire, everything felt simpler if the past stayed quiet." I stared at him. The past. He closed his eyes for a second. "That came out wrong." "No," I said. "It came out right." He looked ashamed, but he didn't argue. I said, "I'm your son, and you just called me the past." "I know. That's the problem. You always know after." He nodded once. Then he said, "I didn't stop loving you." I almost smiled at that, not because it comforted me, because it was such a thin sentence after all this damage. "I think maybe you did," I said. His head lifted. "No. Maybe not all at once, but you loved me less every year. Less effort, less time, less inconvenience, until loving me became something you only did when it fit. That's not fair. It's more fair than what I got." He looked out the window, jaw tight. I waited. Finally, he said, "Claire wanted peace in the house." I let out one cold breath. "And I disturbed the picture." "That's not what I mean." "It is exactly what you mean." He said nothing, so I went on. "You picked the easier family." He still didn't answer. I leaned forward. "Say it. Josh, say it." He swallowed. "Yes." The word landed between us, small and ugly and final. It hurt, yes, but it also cleared something. He kept talking, maybe because silence was worse now. "It wasn't supposed to become what it became," he said. "At first it was little things. One missed weekend, then another. Then Claire had expectations, the kids had schedules, and every time there was tension, I told myself I'd fix it later. Later never came." "No. You chose the cleaner story." His eyes met mine. "Yes. The version where I stayed out of frame." His voice dropped. "Yes." There it was. Not redemption, not a grand apology that rebuilt the years, just truth. I wrapped both hands around my tea. They were steady. For years I had imagined this moment differently. I thought if he ever admitted it, I would explode. I would ask why I wasn't enough. Instead, I heard myself speak with a calm that felt unfamiliar. "I'm done competing," I said. He frowned. "Competing with who?" "With them, with your convenience, with whatever version of fatherhood made you feel like a good man without asking you to do hard things." "Josh, I know I failed you." "You did." He flinched, but I kept going. "I should not have had to audition for a place I was born into." His eyes dropped to the table. "I was your son before Claire," I said. "Before the new house, before the holiday photos, before the children in matching pajamas. That place was supposed to be mine without effort. You made me compete for it anyway." "I'm sorry," he said. "I am." I believed he meant it. Too late, but real. And because it was real, I could finally see it for what it was. Not healing, not repair. Just a man arriving years late with the truth in his hands. I stood. He looked up. "That's it?" "Yes." "Can we try again?" I picked up my coat. "No." His face broke. "Josh,
"I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm stopping." He didn't follow me outside. When I got home, Mom was at work, and the apartment was quiet. I went to the hall closet and pulled down the old photo box she had kept through every move. I sat on the floor and started flipping through pictures. School photos, cheap vacations, Ava with missing front teeth, Mom laughing over a birthday cake. Then I found it. I was maybe 4, sitting on Dad's shoulders in some park I didn't remember. The picture was crooked and sun-faded. His hands held my legs. We were both laughing at something outside the frame. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't keep it because it proved he had once been good. I kept it because the little boy in that picture looked open, wanted, and safe. He had been worth loving from the beginning. That truth mattered more than anything Dad had failed to do. An hour later, I set the photo on my desk, opened my curtains, and propped my phone against a stack of books. No audience, no caption, no performance. I stood in the winter light and took one picture of myself. Not smiling hard, not hiding either. Just here, just mine. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough.